Stand by. One Piece returns unharmed.
For the podcast is Sabo, Vivi, and Boa Hancock at Impel down, and who will die? So, to kind of give some clarification or some news on this, so in December of last year, being 2019, but they call it Jump Festa 2020 because it technically starts from the new year.
Yep.
Oda had put out a note saying, "Hey, sorry, I wouldn't be able to make it to Jump Festa 2020, but we have some exciting news and some stuff coming for One Piece." And from what people have said, he kind of like split up the words with saying someone will die or perish, and the names that he had dropped was Sabo, Vivi, and Boa Hancock. Now I know Intel Down is like in like the Grand Blue or whatever, like it's not even in the New World, but I only
the Grand Blue, yeah.
Yeah, but basically Sabo, Vivi, and Boa Hancock are in a prison somewhere, and this arc will happen eventually. And from these three characters, like someone will die, like between like Sabo, Vivi, and Hancock. And the reason why I had brought up this topic for today's show notes is because I saw Kaio put out a tweet about this, and I was like, wow, that's very interesting. I want to put this for the podcast episode. So I'll let Kaio speak his piece on this. And Kaio, who do you think will die in this prison arc that will soon eventually get in One Piece?
I don't think Sabo will die because at the end of the day, Ace has already died. Not saying that not saying that Sabo's safe. It is possible he can die, so you can't rule it out. But I think when you look at these three, for the past few years, I've always thought that it's most likely going to be Hancock that dies. Because she's very loyal to protect Luffy, but she's not exactly the most powerful character. I'm not saying Vivi's not powerful, but Vivi, okay, yeah, there was the chapter where like her face was there, and Imusama just sort of like stabbed it, if I remember correctly. Like he just like doesn't like Vivi, so it's possible between Vivi and Boa. But the reason I'm saying Boa is because Vivi has she's got like the country to run, because obviously Cobra's not really in a great state, and I personally think he's died because obviously there was an assassination, or an attempted, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I definitely think Cobra died, so I don't think Vivi's going to die. But the reason I'm saying Boa is because, yeah, she's very loyal to protecting Luffy at the end of the day. And obviously I know people are going to obviously they ship Boa and Luffy, and I know it's going to crush their hearts, but I don't know, I just feel like Boa is that sort of person. She's not really going to I don't think she's going to end up with Luffy personally, if obviously the romance stuff is most likely going to happen at the end. The only two, I'm going to get hate for this, but the only two people I could possibly see Luffy having a relationship with is either Vivi, because she said she wants to be like a sort of pirate queen, or Nami. And I know Nami, a lot of people are going to shit at me for, because obviously they want Nami and Sanji to be together. But trust me, I've done a lot of research, because I did this with Bleach, I did this with Naruto, and I pretty much came to the conclusions of, you know, like it happened that those characters ended up with those people. So whether or not this might be different, I don't know, but I've looked up a lot of research of why Luffy could potentially be with Nami. Same thing with Vivi. With Nami, there is a lot of stuff there. I know there are the films like Strong World, Film Z, and Film Gold, so didn't show it really in Stampede, but I know it's non-canon, but there's always that little bit of romance between Luffy and Nami. It might not be like kissing or whatever, but there's always been that sort of little like hint here and there, and there's always been like that sort of flashback in Film Gold. And then obviously there's
the hat. That's what.
Yeah, there's the straw hat at Arlong Park. He's never everyone likes to say, but Usopp wore it. No, the only reason Usopp wore it is because Luffy had an afro, and he said Usopp. And
I think in Film Gold too, he also hands it to her when he's fighting the final boss.
Yeah, so like there are a lot of things, like there's a look at the start of the series. I don't know, there's just been so many connections. A lot of people like to say it's a brother-sisterly type thing, but I don't know, I think there's a bit more to it. With Vivi, on the other hand, is because a lot of people say it makes sense in like I say it's twice now, but it makes sense in the sense that she said she wants to be like a pirate a country, and that so she would be there at, you know, Alabama, and Luffy will be out at sea. Because if you look at it, most wives generally tend to stay at home. They don't really tend to go out, or they've one of the two. So I don't know. I feel like with the whole Pirate Queen, and also Oda's hints when he sort of does like the color panels as well. You always notice that Nami's sort of wearing like a queen hat, or she wears like or she's in the middle and she's next to Luffy kind of thing.
Like the
So
color pages, I think they're called.
yeah, so it's like he drops hints really, but with Vivi I can see it being one of those two. The reason, obviously going back to the original things we're talking about shipping here, but with Boa, the reason I think that she will die is because I think she's that sort of person that would die for Luffy. I think if it meant that, you know, she had to sacrifice to make sure that Luffy stays alive, I generally think she would. Same thing with Sabo, but at the end of the day we've lost Ace, and I don't think Oda will probably want to do that twice to us and kill off Sabo, so Luffy's like the only living person. I think it is right that there is still a brother that's left, but that's just my personal opinion. But I'm not saying I'm a Luffy Nami, I'm not saying I'm a Luffy Boa or a Luffy Vivi, because shipping's not like the thing that I care about, where I know there are people that I've seen before previously from the Bleach fandom that burnt their manga just because Ichigo didn't smash Rukia and he smashed Orihime. And the same thing with Naruto is because he smashed Hinata and not Sakura.
That was Naruto was definitely a huge one for that. Yeah.
That was definitely a big one. But yeah, sorry, what is who do you think is gonna die?
Oh no, like this going back to your like topic, like that's why I wanted to like bring it up, because you had like, even before this news had came out, like Kaio has like told me about why Luffy and Nami make so much sense, so I know you had like so much knowledge and like impact, and like when this like actually got announced like as an upcoming arc, I was like, man, like I really want to know his opinion, like for a record, like kind of like a video in a sense, because I think you have done a video. Like
yeah, I think it's still up, or I might have privated it. I might sort of retouch on it and sort of say like why Luffy Nami makes sense, and might do one on Vivi as well.
That's why I wanted to bring you on this topic, because you're so like in pack and you have so much knowledge on this, that I felt like having you talk about this was like the perfect timing. Like
Boa looks really good in that picture, by the way. No, don't get me wrong. I might not like say the whole like Boa and Luffy thing, but it doesn't take away the fact that she is really hot. Sorry, I just want to put that out there.
She also like rules her own island, if I'm not mistaken. So you were saying,
yeah,
you think Boa is going to die in this Impel down arc, so to say, so to speak.
Yeah, I generally think that she will die because she will put her life on the line for Luffy, which at the end of the day a lot of people would, like anyone would from the Straw Hats.
Right.
But I don't know, I've just had this feeling for ages that I just feel like Boa is going to die, like because we haven't really had a major character death in a long time, like someone who means a lot to Luffy, because we know that Hancock does mean a lot to Luffy, like there's no denial in that, like we can see that, like, you know, we've seen it in Stampede, we've seen it in you know, at the end of like after the 2 years, before the 2 years, like, you know, she did help him out a lot. But I think if they always say 1 in 5 or 1 in 3 will die,
yeah,
and I know I'm leading more towards Boa here. It can be out of Boa or Vivi, but I just think Boa makes the most sense of the person to die. But that's just me.
So when it comes to this prison thing, I think for me personally, like from what I've researched,
Yeah, go for it.
I think who's going to end up dying from this is Vivi. And the reason why, I got 2 reasons why. The reason why I say this, because reason 1 is people really praise Oda for like world building. The most we've ever got of world building in the start of One Piece was what's it called? What's Vivi's arc with Crocodile? I'm forgetting the name.
Alabasta, or it's in Alabama, but it's Alabasta.
Yeah, Alabasta. Like the whole X symbol on their wrists, you know, them reaching up to the sky, you know, saying that they'll always be together, even though like she's a part of the government. Like I felt like that moment is so early on in the series, is so iconic that they'll throw that in before she dies. Not to mention is that there's this silhouette person that like really has this infatuation for Vivi in the manga, or like some parts of the anime that they have shown. That's number 2. The third one, this is why I say Vivi's gonna die. The third reason is that a lot of mangaka really look up to what's his name? Let me pull it up one more time. A lot of mangaka really look up to Akira Toriyama, and the reason why I
Yeah,
look up
of
Akira
course.
Toriyama in One Piece is because is that Goku and Chi-Chi really doesn't make sense, but because Goku is so, he's kind of, an airhead, and how that transpired, he was like, I didn't really know what marriage meant, but since I promised you I'm gonna do it anyway. I feel like a lot of mangaka look up to Akira Toriyama so much is that they try to put moments like that into their series. So I think that killing off Vivi would, indicate, hey, Luffy is going to go for the Goku and Chi-Chi route, even though they have no ties, no really, interest at all. It's just, Hancock is more interested in Luffy than he is her, but since Luffy's kind of this carefree guy, he's probably going to go the Goku route anyway. Is how.
Yeah, when you put it like that, see, Nami does remind me of she reminds me a bit of Chi Chi, but also reminds me a bit of Bulma in a sense, because if you notice, they're both like very
intelligent and rich.
yeah, they're intelligent. Well, but they mainly always seem to have a pop at the person that they're with, if you know what I mean. So I'm sort of referring to Bulma with Vegeta here, and
Yeah, like their pigments. Or like their bones.
yeah, and it's like at the end of the day, with if you was to say hypothetically Luffy and Boa were to happen, like I wouldn't be pissed, but for me it just doesn't make sense. Oh, obviously to some other people it might make sense,
Right.
but
I also see it from Boa's standpoint is because she is like the ruler of her island, and to have a ruler and the king of the pirates be together, it kind of seems like it works in my head.
yeah, but you could also say that about Vivi as well, because she's a ruler. She'd be the ruler of Alabasta.
Damn,
which
right.
Looks like an armadillo.
yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like when you sort of look at the sort of things that Oda's, well, it's not really Oda. It's the people that are sort of working on the films. Like Oda, obviously, he's there, so he can see what's being like he sees what's happening. So he could say, no, I don't want that, or I want that sort of thing, before people jump on my case about that, because I know that's going to happen. Yeah, with Luffy and Vivi, for example, yeah, she's a ruler, and they've both had like very sort of like, you can see that she has. Well, easiest way to say it, Luffy tends to pull all the women in the series.
Right.
Because he's got his little fan club of Shirahoshi, Mancherry, Vivi, Rebecca. Like, they think really highly of him. Boa's there. Like, I think they would all get on together if it was them. But the other thing that I've also brought up is, I'm not saying that no one else would do it, but like, I don't know, it's just the way that Luffy was there with Nami when she was ill. Like, back on, like, after Little Garden, on the way towards Drum Island. And he took her up. He climbed the whole way. I just feel like Oda gives those little sudden, like very small hints, like the whole look that they gave each other, and when Luffy and Nami, after she got injured by Kuro, she was sort of like looking at him, and it's like as if like, oh, I'm damsel in distress kind of thing, and same thing with Arlong Park.
I think to cap off this topic is that for the audience watching, no matter who gets together whenever this arc does release, I think what this arc will mainly like impact or basically show is that which character had the most impact with the Straw Hat crew before their death. Like with I mentioned it before with Vivi, it was Alabasta. I hope that's the right arc. I just said it.
Yeah.
With Vivi, it was Alabasta. For Hancock, it's been so many with him and with her and Luffy. So I think like at the takeaway point, whoever does die will have the most impact out of just the group as a whole, and we'll see those iconic moments is what everyone is just kind of looking forward to. Because like, I'm not gonna lie, if Vivi does die, that is kind of the start of One Piece for a lot of people. Like Alabasta was the world building, the villains, the setup, like, so that would be sad too. Boa Hancock, kinda, because she was in Impel Down, not Impel Down, but is it Enies Lobby where Ace died? Is that the right one?
What's that, sorry?
Did Ace die in Enies Lobby, or is that a different arc?
Oh, Ace's death, that was Marineford.
Oh, Marineford, yeah. With Boa Hancock, it was Marineford. So I think outside of Sabo, because none of us said that, but between Vivi and Boa Hancock, any of their deaths will be iconic and definitely going to be sad to see when we do get to that point of One Piece. But going on to the next topic of our show notes.
So, you want to be a pirate? Well, in order to be a pirate, you have to act like a pirate.
Whatever, bro.
Maybe you should just watch One Piece instead. One Piece, Monday through Thursday at 10, starting next week on Cartoon Network.